Okay, I'm gonna show how to do a cowl neck. So this can be done on either front or back. I'm gonna show it on the front body. So the first thing that I wanna do is I wanna shift this fullness. So I'm gonna create just a 1 dart bodice to begin. So I'm going to give a slash line from the side dart to the apex and the waist dart up to the apex. And that just allows a pivot point here. So to begin, I'm going to close the side dart, shifting all this fullness to the waist, and that'll be short-lived. So now I want to do a couple things. The very first thing I want to do, while this is still like, it still looks very normal, I'm going to decide where I want my cowl to end on body. So here I want to go for a low cowl, which is really just, it's horizontal to the bust point. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line across here to the center front. Mine is squared. Let me finish this line here. I'm going to choose my midpoint shoulder to come down from, but know that this is interchangeable if you want a different neck width, and this is also interchangeable for your neck depth. So here's my neckline here. This will end up being trimmed away, so it's kind of, it's gonna become trash, obsolete. But I like to do this now just to give me a good idea of what my neckline needs to be on body before I go shifting any more of this fullness. So now what I'm going to do is shift this fullness up into the neckline. So cowls, to achieve that drape, we want to throw a lot of material up into the neckline, which is what you're going to see me do now with another slash and pivot. So I have created this line here. And again, if you wanted something more deep than a bust line cowl, this could come down, and then this line would not be straight across. It would be essentially your neckline, whatever you may choose, to your apex. So even if you wanted a more narrow depth of a cowl up here, just always to the apex, that's your pivot point. So remember that. So closing this waist dart to then transfer that to your neckline. And this is exactly what you want to see. So now that I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and trim this excess away. And I'm going to create a straight line now. And I'm going to place the center front body up against this line. Perfect match. And again, just aiming for the center front of this body. Don't worry about this spacing here. The next thing that you want to do is from your shoulder line over. We want this to come from this shoulder point at the neck, but it needs to be squared to the center line here. So these see-through rulers are very handy for this. So now we've got this squared line here, and this will become your new neckline, but I'm going to add a little more fullness into the cowl shape. And this here doesn't have to be perfect, but I like it to be almost like, I hate to say this, but kind of like a machete shape. So you've got really a parallel line to the center front until you get to this point. So you want to come back to that that neckline that you created from the beginning, so that point. And this is another slash line. So I know it looks a little atypical, but this slash line here, and again, I went from midpoint shoulder. So I know we've already gotten rid of half of what our shoulder once was, but we're gonna go ahead and divide this in half once more. And you'll see here in a moment, because like I said, this is our new neckline, but this helps, you can see, just add even more fullness into our shoulder. And this point now, we want this part of the neckline that once was to be midpoint between here and this 90-degree angle. So you can go ahead and measure that if it's helpful. So there's your midpoint. Again, that's between here and your new 90-degree angle here. So tape that in place. And again, all that is giving us is more fullness in this shoulder to then be given back into the actual drape of the cowl. Okay. And then the other thing, since we've shifted a lot of this armhole like down, just by closing everything up and extending it into the neckline, it's best to raise your armhole by 1/2 inch. And that's full scale sloper that I'm talking about. I'm just gonna give this 1/8 of an inch here just for a good visual. And blend that. So there's your new armhole, so raise that. And then retrace all of this, and then we'll add a facing.